So welcome everybody. This is our first restorative class since we came back from the summer break. And I wanted to share with you a practice that I have utilized. It was maybe a week ago. No, it was a week ago Sunday. So a week ago yesterday. I had been at the hospital for 36 hours straight. And many of you know the very stressful circumstances that surrounded that. And I hadn't slept. And I came home and it was time for me to try to get some rest. And I was absolutely vibrating with tension. And I thought I have to get some rest, but I'm so stressed out. I don't know what to do. And then I thought, wait a minute, you have yoga. And I thought I'm too exhausted to do yoga, but I remembered I have some tools that I can use even when I'm in a very exhausted place. So that's what I want to show you tonight is the practice that I did last week in order to help myself ground after being at the hospital and experiencing, some extreme stress. So it starts by lying on my back in constructive rest. So I'm going to move to my mat and kind of show you what I mean. Constructive rest is a very simple pose. Just lying on your back, knees bent, feet on the floor. You can use a little pillow under the back of your neck because that's helpful. You might have noticed that I have a folded blanket along the length of my mat just to cushion my back, my spine, because I'm on a hardwood floor here, so a little extra cushioning is nice. So coming to lie on your back as soon as you can comfortably, explore the place that you'd like to put your feet. They don't have to be really close to each other or close to your body. Sometimes widening out the angles of the knees and the hips helps the rest of the spine relax a little bit. And just settle your bones to the ground. And at this point in your practice, I hope you're not having as stressful a time as I was last week. Wouldn't wish that on anybody. But if you are having some stress these days, you might want to take some time just to notice the state of your mind and your body. And sometimes you might find yourself judging that. I shouldn't feel like this. I don't want to feel like this. I should be able to calm down. Can you take some of that judgment away from how you discover yourself in this moment? As if you were a really good friend, a loving partner. Say to yourself, it's okay, honey. It's been a tough time. You got a lot going on. We're gonna take care of that now. Settle back. It's okay, honey. And that's kind of the way I was talking to myself, almost like I was, outside of myself a little bit and saying, it's all right. They're there, lovey. As my grandma used to say to me. So you might want to just take a moment as you come into constructed rest at the beginning of the practice and notice your state of body and mind. And whatever you discover, say to yourself, it's okay. It's okay to be here on your mat, even if things are a little bit uncomfortable, or if you're busy in your head, or if there's discomfort in your body, it's okay. We're going to work with that. And we're going to try to weave it all back together into some semblance of normalcy in the next hour. So just taking that snapshot of where you're at and being okay with it. Not judging yourself. For me, that's key. If you're comfortable with your closing your eyes, you might do that now. It might help you to drop inward a little bit more. And then let's take some time to just briefly acknowledge your physical body, the vehicle through which you experience life. And as we take this brief little scan through the body, try to keep that non-judgmental tone, just almost saying hello to the feet. Little feet, I feel the feet as best as I can. Hello, ankles, feeling the ankles. And then that same sort of non-judgmental, welcoming tone to the lower legs, knees, thighs, to the hips and buttocks, the low belly, the rib cage, the chest, feeling the shoulders, saying hello to the arms, the hands, the fingers, the thumbs. Feeling the neck as best you can, the throat. Moving awareness up across the face, the scalp, and moving awareness into the brain. With that same non-judgmental, open-hearted attitude. Hello, welcome to the mat. We're going to do our best to get it all together now. To start weaving these separate pieces of ourselves that have been so scattered by the stress today. Start weaving it back into some semblance of normalcy. And now I'll invite you to notice your nose and the sensation of air moving in and out through the nostrils. That sounds so simple, doesn't it? I'm going to breathe in and I'm going to breathe out. But it's actually really sophisticated to be able to turn your attention on purpose to the physical sensations of air entering the nose and leaving the nose. Now, when I'm having pretty much a major nervous breakdown, it's hard for me to believe that changing the way that I breathe is going to get me down out of the tree. But I also studied this a lot. I've looked at the literature, taught this for over 20 years. I know that changing the way I breathe is going to change my whole system. It's the way we're wired. But I know when you're under stress, it's hard to convince yourself that anything's going to make it better. But let's try. So breathing in and out through the nose. Gradually lengthen your inhale and lengthen your exhale till we come to pretty much a 5-second inhale and a 5-second exhale. Now, when I'm really upset, I don't know if you've had this experience, my breath sounds more like a rather than a nice smooth inhale and exhale. So if you're feeling that your breath isn't that smooth yet, or it's a bit raggedy, that's okay. There, lovey. Just as best as you can, by focusing on the breath in a kind-hearted, open-minded way, can you slowly regulate your breath to a 5-second inhale and a 5-second exhale. You'll notice I have my hands placed on my torso. I find this, for me, very grounding and comforting to touch my torso and feel the shape change of breath there. Sometimes that works for others, sometimes it doesn't, but you can try it. And I can count out a few rounds of this 5-second inhale and 5-second exhale, just to kind of give you a feeling of it. So let's try it on for size. Let's all exhale so we come together. And then let's inhale together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhaling. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I hope that felt okay. The reason that I'm suggesting we look at that 5-count inhale and 5-count exhale is research has shown that at 6 breaths per minute, we optimize the effect on the nervous system. We know that breathing is one of the most effective ways and the most prompt way to affect the autonomic nervous system. And that's where your panic is coming from. That's where your stress is really working on your body. is through the autonomic nervous system. So this particular ratio of breath is particularly effective at helping to bring balance and weave you back together. If you need to do a different ratio of breath tonight, that's fine. But I'm going to start cueing through some simple movements using that ratio of breath. So here's the first movement. And I'll explain the movement. You can try it, and then we'll weave in the breathing. So take your right leg, bring it in towards your chest. Release the right foot back to the floor. Take your left leg, bring it into the chest, hug it in, just gently, and then release the left foot back to the floor. Then on the next breath, we'll bring both knees into the chest, a little knee to chest action here, and then releasing the feet back to the floor. Now we're going to do a few of these different movements where we're using the body asymmetrically. Asymmetrical movement also tugs gently on the nerves of the autonomic nervous system, almost like a seesaw action or a flossing action. And this helps getting the autonomic nervous system's attention to pay attention to what you're doing rather than being worried about all the stuff out there. So it's another little trick that I used on myself. So let's talk about breathing. We can inhale in this position and exhale as we bring the knees in. So let's exhale to prepare. And then we'll start our first inhale. I'm lifting my arms up to inhale just because it's fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right knee in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Left knee in as you exhale. 3, 2, 1. Inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhaling. 5, 4. Both knees in. 2, and 1. Let's repeat that. Inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. Right knee in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale back to the original position over a count of 5. Exhale, left knee in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Extending out. Inhaling for a count of 5. And on this exhale, the third one, both knees come in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's repeat that whole sequence one more time, counting it out in your own mind. And if you forget what to do, I am demonstrating. And the next time you bring your knees in towards your chest, you finish your exhale. You can stay in knee to chest pose if you like. You can rock a little bit from side to side if you're craving some movement. But let's just take a moment to notice the state of body and mind. So we're using the tools of regulated breathing and asymmetrical movement to try to rebalance our autonomic nervous system. Let's roll to our sides and slowly press up. And come to a little bit of forward fold work. So I'm going to fold my blanket over again. You can fold it again and again if you want to. So you've got a little bit of padding here. I'm going to sit right here on the edge of the blanket, hooking my sitting bones kind of just right over the edge, so that I feel that my pelvis is kind of cascading forward a little bit. Make sure you keep a soft bend in your knee for this particular version. In fact, if there's any doubt about that, you can always have a rolled blanket or pillow under your legs. I want to make sure you definitely keep some softness in your knees for this version. This isn't about stretching. This is about weaving yourself back together after you've had a very stressful time. So we'll use the regulated breathing, again, the way we were when we were lying down on our backs, and focus more on how this feels internally as opposed to stretching something. So the movement is very fluid. We'll be upright. We'll hinge forward at the hips to come into forward fold, chin to the chest. Then come halfway up, extending the chest forward. Go back into the forward fold, and then come back up to an upright seat. And so that's the sequence of movement. Let's add in the breathing. So when you're ready, we'll exhale to prepare and inhale together for a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Forward fold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Half lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Forward fold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And continuing right along. 5, 4. Coming into your forward fold. 2, 1. Half lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Forward fold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's repeat that sequence one more time, counting out the breath in your own mind. Seeing if you can keep the movement going the entire inhale or the entire exhale. So the breath is always moving and your body is always moving. And next time you come into an upright position, let's just hold what we might call staff pose from our regular yoga practice. And just again, take a moment to notice your body and mind. What state are you in? And what I noticed when I was doing this that night is I started to feel the buzziness, the panic, the inability to settle or sit still start to kind of sift away like sand through the hourglass. It was slow going, but I started to feel myself settle. One of the advantages to your regular yoga practice is that as you practice working with your autonomic nervous system using these tools, they become more responsive. Just like training a puppy, you do the trick enough times, the puppy knows how to do the trick before you even have the treat in your hand, right? Okay, let's come into our next little bit of movement, which is cat-cow. I think you're all very familiar with the modification of using a chair if you don't want to weight bear on your knees. So please use a chair for this. I'm going to use a blanket to cushion my knees. So because so many of the nerves for our autonomic nervous system, especially the part of the system that helps us to relax, so many of those nerves are in the cardiac area and in the abdominal area. I want to really focus in cat-cow on this area of the body, from the chest down to the belly. Here's what I mean. Come into table pose using your chair or on the floor, whatever you like. Soften the elbows. And if you're standing, make sure your knees are softened. As you inhale, think about the chest filling up, the lungs really filling up in that balloon-like levitation, really lifting and opening the chest. On the exhale, come halfway into your back flexion, just halfway. Now pull the belly in a little bit more firmly. Now go all the way into your full cat stretch. Consciously relax the belly muscles as you stretch the chest up, away from the ground and through the arms. Exhale, thinking about that belly. Now let's add in our regulated breath. Here we go. Inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhaling. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Moving a couple more times through this sequence. Trying to keep in mind the chest on the inhale and just coming into the cat stretch halfway before you pull the belly in at the end of your exhale and then finish the cat stretch. Using that 5 count inhale and 5 count exhale if possible. One more breath. And then sitting back on your heels, if that's available to you. If sitting on your heels doesn't really work, you can take child's pose or sit in a chair for a moment. I just want to have a chance to just check in with the state of your body and your mind. A lot of these movements are really familiar to you from your regular yoga practice, but tonight they might be landing just a little bit differently because we have such a focus on how this is affecting your stress response. Okay. You may want to sit in a chair for this next one. I'm going to fold my blanket again so I have a little bit of padding under my bum, and I'll be comfortable enough sitting cross-legged, but you may choose to sit in a chair. And the way you know when it's appropriate for you to switch to the chair, when you sit down, if your hip joints are higher than your knee joints. In fact, I think I need more folded blanket. Now I have another look at things. And yes, for tonight, that extra blanket makes a difference because my hip joints are higher than my knee joints. So if that's not happening comfortably for you, sitting in a chair works great for this. And we're going to come into some more movement timed with that regulated breath. I'm going to suggest holding the arm up. There's actually some energy points through this part of the body that are stimulated when you hold the arm up. Also, we're working more with those nerves that connect us to that relaxation response. But if this is troublesome to hold your arm up for any length of time, please know that having your hand rest on your hip is just fine. So this is the inhale position. And then the half moon stretch is the exhale position. We're just going to move back and forth a couple times, and then we might hold the stretch. Again, regulated breath. So let's exhale to prepare, and all inhale together, get tall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling up for a count of 5. And then coming back into the stretch and perhaps holding. You can always keep moving if you would rather. Bend the top arm, cup the back of your head with your hand. Let your head rest back into your hand. Pull the elbow back behind you just a tiny bit. And take one more regulated breath here. Inhaling for a count of 5 and exhaling for a count of 5. Really opening up that top rib cage. When you've done that last breath, gently come up. Before we rush to the other side, let's again take a moment to notice the state of our body and our mind. Keep checking back in. Try to bring that non-judgment. Try to bring that kindliness, that understanding that you would to one of your best friends who is going through a rough time. When you're ready, we'll exhale to prepare and then join each other for an inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming up for a count of 5. And then over into half moon stretch, exhaling for 5. Inhale up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling into the stretch. And you may choose to hold the stretch now. You can keep moving if you would prefer. While you're holding the stretch, you can bend your top arm, cup your head, pull your elbow back a little bit, opening under the armpit, opening the top rib cage. Let's take one more breath. We're still trying to use the 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. And then when you're done lifting up, taking a moment to notice the state of body Okay. Let's come back down onto our backs. We're going to stay down here for the remainder of the class. You might want to have a few other things handy for you. A chair. Another blanket that we'll be using on the chair when we get to there. You may also want to have something to support the curvature of your neck, like a rolled washcloth or hand towel. You might, if your house is a lot cooler than mine, or you're not having hot flashes all the time, you might want to have a blanket to put over top of you for when we get into the last pose. And if you use an eye pillow or something like that, you might want to have that handy. So those are some of the things you'll want to have close by so that you don't have to get back up from the floor and disturb all the careful, arranging of your nervous system that you've been working towards. So I'm going to lie back down into my constructed rest position. And I'm going to come into the simple supine twist, but I'm going to use all these different breathing variations that we've been working with. Instead of an even ratio breath now, I'm going to start playing a little bit more intimately with my breath, starting to elongate the exhales. So the simple movement, I know you've done this before, on the exhales are to drop the legs over to the right, then come up to the center, and then drop the legs to the left. And at this point in time, please don't feel any pressure to get your legs all the way to the floor. Make sure you're moving in a pain-free range of motion, even if it's just a little angle to your legs. You may want to have, because we will be holding this at the end for a little bit while we focus more on breathing rather than moving, you might want a pillow handy or a folded blanket just to cushion something if it doesn't come to the floor easily. All right, so we're ready to go. You can have your arms in whatever position is comfortable for you, cactus arms, straight out, palms up, palms down, doesn't really matter. Feet on the floor, feel the grounding through the soles of the feet. And let's exhale to prepare. We'll come into a 4-count inhale, 4-count exhale. So a little bit faster breath to start with. Ready? Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale to the right. 4, 3, 2, 1. And center. 1, 2, 3, 4. And left as you exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to center on your count of 4. And when we go to the right again, I'm going to go to an exhale of 5. Here we go. Exhaling 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, center. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling 5 to the left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming back to center for a count of 4. And when we go to the right, we'll go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to the center for a count of 4. And to the left for 6, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to center for a count of 4. Let's see about 7. So exhaling to the right for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Center for 4, 2, 3, 4. And to the left for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Center for 4. And the last time to the right here, we'll count out for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4. And then exhale to the left for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to the center for 4. And to the right for a count of 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Leaving the knees to the right.
propping, if that will make you more comfortable to hang out here for a while. Remember, this practice isn't about stretching. It's about weaving yourself back together after a stressful day. So make sure your body is properly supported so you don't have any real strong sensations to distract you. As soon as you've got yourself organized, let's go back into our 4-count inhale and an 8-count exhale. Counting that out for yourself. If you find you don't really have enough air to go all the way to 8, just wait until you're done counting to 8 before you start to inhale, as long as that doesn't make you feel uncomfortable. Let's take one more breath, doubling the length of the exhale compared to the inhale, while we hold supine twist to the right. And on your next inhale, bring your knees up to center and for a count of 4, and then over to the left for a count of 8. Settling in supine twist, legs to the left, adjusting your props. And then take 3 extended exhale breaths. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 8. Especially noticing at the end of the exhale. Is that territory starting to feel a little bit more comfortable? Sometimes when you start the practice and you're really stressed, the exhales are hard to find or challenging. Is that getting any easier to really feel the peace at the end of the exhale? When you're ready, just bring your arms over to the left side of your mat and push yourself up for a second. And we'll get ready to set up for one of my personal favorites, is legs up the chair. And we're going to take some time to get set up in this pose tonight because we're going to be here for a while. Legs up the chair is one of my real go-tos when I'm pretty frantic. There's a little bit of a hack that happens in this pose. Because you're elevating your hips a little higher than your heart, and the heart is slightly higher than the brain, it really puts a message right to the cardiac area that it can soften and slow down. So here's how I'm suggesting we might set up tonight. First, let's look at the blanket underneath you. You might want to take the blanket underneath you and fold it over so like 1/3 of the blanket or half of the blanket is kind of folded over a little bit. So you have a wee wrap effect, very wee. So that this end of the blanket is a little tiny bit thicker than this end of the blanket, just a tiny bit. And then flip that over so you won't have a seam here. Just take that and flip that right over. So this end of the blanket where your bum is going to sit is a tiny bit higher than where your head's going to go, just a tiny bit higher. And if you need more props, a longer blanket or more than one blanket, we can do that. And then the other thing we're going to want is this chair in place. So I'm going to sit over on the higher end of the blanket, and I'm going to bring my chair over. And my calves are going to go up onto the chair. If you're using your couch or a living room chair, just position your body so you're perpendicular to the edge of the couch or the chair, and that'll work fine. And I'm going to use this blanket to wrap my lower legs. Again, another one of these little hacks that we use in restorative yoga. There's a lot of energy points in the back of your calf. When the back of the calf spreads against the seat of the chair, it signals your autonomic nervous system that it's safe to relax. So I'm going to take my legs and place them up on the chair so that the chair or the couch is almost into the backs of my knees. And then I'm going to wrap the blanket around my legs so that I'm kind of swaddled. Lowering myself back down. My hips are slightly higher than my chest, which is slightly higher than my head. So I have a very mild inversion effect happening here. It's safe for almost everybody to do, although tonight you may sense that it's not safe for you. And then in that case, just flatten out the blanket underneath you. You don't have to have it folded special. Make sure your legs feel kind of secure and swaddled. There's a reason why we swaddle babies. Use your eye pillow if that's comfortable for you. You can always insert something just here underneath the back of your neck and the curve of your neck, not to stretch it or to lift it, but just to support the curvature here. So you feel, something solid, just kissing the skin at the back of your neck. And I find it, as I mentioned earlier, comforting to have hands on my torso, but you may find you want a different arrangement for your arms. So the physical arrangement of my body has left the door open to further stimulate the relaxation response. I've used those little hacks to try to get this to work. I now start to feel the effects of the regulated breathing, the rhythmic movement, the flossing of the nerves of the autonomic nervous system. And all of this has hopefully started to bring me into a little bit greater state of cohesion in body and mind. So let's take a moment in this position to check in, do a little mini inventory, if you will. How do you feel, body and mind? Now, if this position turns out to be not suitable for you tonight, you maybe want to take a regular Shavasana or just stretch out on your couch for this particular portion. But the legs up the chair does give us a few advantages if you can manage it. So while we're here, let's spend some time really inviting our whole system to come even to a greater sense of balance. And we'll start that by being grounded into our physicality, just like we did at the beginning. A little bit of a chance to greet your body. See if you can do this in a way that's welcoming and friendly and compassionate. Letting go of the judgment about how things should be, whether you're performing well or not. Just be generally caring and soft with yourself. So looking down at your feet, noticing all the toes. See if you can trace awareness around each one of your 5 toes on the right foot and on the left foot. Noticing the soles of the feet. Kind of seeing if you can feel the arches. Noticing the tops of your feet. Ankles, the heels. Feeling the spread of the calves on the chair. Feeling the backs of the knees supported. Feeling your kneecaps floating. Feel the powerful muscles of your thighs kind of hanging down towards the ground. Just suspended, nothing really to do. Feel the weight of your sacrum into the floor, probably supported by that blanket we were working with. Feel the bones of your pelvis cradling your lower belly, all the important organs there. If your hands are touching your torso, just sense the pressure of your hands into the torso, the weight of them, the warmth of them. Use the sensitivity of your fingers to touch base with the sensations that are coming in through the pinky fingers and the ring fingers and the middle fingers and the index fingers, and especially the thumbs, palms of the hands, and the backs of the hands, the wrists, and forearms, elbows, upper arms, shoulders. Feeling out the hollows of your armpits,
the edges of your rib cage, the backs of your ribs resting on the ground, the shoulder blades. And feel all those bony structures surrounding and cradling your lungs as they fill and release with your breath. And your heart as it beats tirelessly day in, day out. Feel the hollow tube of your throat leading up into your mouth. Discovering the positioning of your tongue tonight. Feeling the back of your tongue, the sides of your tongue, the tip of your tongue, the top of your tongue, the underside of your tongue. Feeling your cheeks, your temples, listening through the ears, feeling across your forehead, noticing the heaviness of your eyelids as they protect your poor tired eyeballs. Coming back to noticing the breath, moving in and out of the nose. We're no longer trying to shape the breath or deepen it, simply becoming aware that this is happening in this moment. You're breathing in and you're breathing out. And seeing if you can notice where you feel breathing most predominantly tonight. Is it in the nostrils or the throat? Is it movement in the chest that really catches your awareness? Is it under your hands, maybe in the belly? So wherever you notice the movements of breath most interesting, can I ask you to focus there? And we'll just take a little bit of time to count your breaths. So not the length of them or anything, but just counting backwards with your breath. So we're just going to go from 7 to 1 tonight. So you inhale 7, exhale 7, inhale 6, exhale 6. We'll just count your naturally occurring breath, however it arrives. Just count it backwards. So let's begin that whenever you're ready with this next breath. This next breath will be labeled 7, inhaling and exhaling, and then 6, etc., until you count backwards to 1. You've done 7 breaths backwards. Focusing as best as you can on breathing. You might notice that the inhales and exhales are different lengths, or that it changes in the course of 7 breaths. That's all fine. No judgment. And then when you've completed counting the breaths backwards 7 times, just let all that go. And open up your awareness to your whole body for a moment. Notice that there might be somewhere in your body that you feel quite warm. Is there one particular place that you notice that you're quite warm? It's such a nice warm day here in Niagara, unusually for this time of year. So remember the warmth of summer. Just really experience warmth. And then keeping your awareness on your whole body experience. Is there somewhere that you feel the opposite sensation of being cool? Maybe somewhere you haven't covered up. Or you're feeling a fan or a breeze. Coolness. Really feeling and embracing that sensation of coolness for a moment. Continuing with this methodology a bit longer, Is there a place in your body that feels really heavy? You've been working on relaxing, and some parts of your body might have responded by feeling really heavy. Like you could move that part of your body if you wanted to, but you really don't want to. It just feels really heavy, like it's made of lead, really heavy and dense. Just experiencing that heaviness for a second. Heavy. You may, as you open up your awareness to the whole body, notice something of lightness in your body as well, though. A place in your body that has been made more spacious through our practices, like it could almost float up to the sky. So do you notice a place that feels light, spacious? And can you be with that for a couple seconds? Openness, lightness. And then without judgment, but acknowledging there may be a place that has not been able to find comfort tonight, still might feel anxious or nervous or uncomfortable. Can you give some attention to something that doesn't feel comfortable? And just be with it. Just notice it the way you noticed warmth, the way you noticed coolness. Just noticing for a couple seconds. This part of you is not comfortable. But then, of course, if you open your awareness on purpose, you may notice there is part of you, a section somewhere in your body that has found some rest tonight. It does feel comfortable. So can you deliberately turn your attention now to a place that feels settled, that feels comfortable, that feels in place? And really do the best you can to focus on that sensation for a few seconds. And then again, letting your awareness open on purpose. So your awareness is big as the sky. You're seeing the big picture coming out, or zoom out. And seeing the whole body, feeling the whole body, resting here in legs up the chair pose or whatever you've chosen tonight. And just reflecting on the experiences that you've had through these practices. Reflecting on how you've been able to take different perspectives, look at opposing viewpoints. You've been able to step outside of your immediate experience and act as almost your own self-caregiver. Learning and practicing some of the language of the autonomic nervous system. When you're able to take time and use your teachings to do this, you're really working with a higher level of intelligence. So let's take a few moments to explore that ability to be a witness, to step aside for a moment and observe without judgment, but kindly, interested, compassionate, but not expecting anything different. How does it feel to see your body, your thoughts, and your life through that lens?
During my camping adventures in the summer, a little kind of slogan or mantra came to me after spending a lot of time outside. I'd like to float it with you and see what you think of it. I used to say to myself, my mind is as spacious as the sky and as fluid as a river. Spacious as the sky and fluid as a river. You're bigger than you think you are. And you have more room in your life than what you thought you did. You're going to be okay. In a few moments, we'll be transitioning from your legs up the chair or your restorative pose, moving on with the rest of what I hope is a very relaxing evening, moving towards a good night's sleep. But before you move too much, can you recall that initial check-in that we did in constructed rest right at the beginning? When you laid down on the floor, and perhaps if you were anything like me, you could feel your nerves vibrating. You could feel the level of frustration and panic and fear and all the other things that bring stress to our bodies. Maybe you felt the physical effects of pain, enhanced sensitivity to pain, headaches, etc. You did that check-in at the beginning. Let's do that one more check-in, mind and body. I'm not saying we can solve every problem with a 1-hour yoga class, but I hope we've really experienced together tonight what some of these tools can do to help weave you back together, put you back out in the game, a little stronger, a little more organized. As you prepare to release your restorative pose, be gentle, starting with an enhanced breathing pattern, a little bit deeper inhale, maybe wiggling toes, fingers, gently mobilizing the joints. My suggestion is to bend your knees into your chest, roll over to your side, rest on your side, as long as you feel would be helpful. Trying to stay tuned in to mind and body as you start to move, open your eyes, and come back up to a seated position. I'd like to close the formal portion of our class by sharing our sacred Om sound together. But after we're done the Om and stop the recording, I'd like to maybe have a chance to chat and how that all went down for you tonight. So let's do the Om first. I'm inhaling now. Namaste.